All Indiana Politics is your premier source for Indiana politics, focusing on issues that matter to you.
I still want us to be the best in the Midwest.
We can't afford another lockdown.
Give the citizens of this country the relief they need.
Education in the state of Indiana remains priority number one.
In-depth, nonpartisan coverage.
We don't know exactly where the economy will be in January.
People are worried with good reason.
Exclusive interviews with Indiana's political leaders.
We have the resources here in the state of Indiana to care for those who are in need.
Expert analysis on critical legislation.
We need to reform those laws.
This recovery is going to take some time.
We've got to anticipate that there'll be a budget shortfall.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of All Indiana Politics. On this Sunday, I'm Phil Sanchez. Let's start this morning with one of Indiana's newest members of Congress. This week marks 6 months in office for Victoria Spartz, the Republican who won the 5th district seat when Susan Brooks retired. The past month has seen Spartz join Democrats in voting to end the authorization for military force in Iraq and remove Confederate statues from Congress. She's also voted against a new committee to investigate the January 6th insurrection. And she's with our Scott Sander.
Thanks for your time. One that seems to have most momentum at the moment is the infrastructure issue. Bipartisan plan seems to be getting some momentum. Where are you with it today?
Well, I think it's about time for us to have good infrastructure about investment in the future assets, because we do need to do that. And hopefully we can go beyond politics and actually have something done. And I'm hopeful that we can have this discussion on a bipartisan basis. I know that Problem Solver Caucus at a group of Republicans and Democrat in the House are supportive of this plan. And I'm going to see. The devil is always in the details. This is just a concept for now, but I'm looking forward to see what the plan is going to be.
Representatives on either side have flatly rejected certain versions of it. Does anything leap out at you to this one, even if it is a work in progress, that would be a disqualifier, or do you have optimism about it?
Well, I have to stay optimistic because we have to deliver some results. I definitely do not believe it's a time for us to increase taxes or do wasteful spending. We need to be smart and invest in actually hard infrastructure and how we can pay for it through some user fees or maybe repurposing some of the spending that already been done in the previous bills. But I don't think it's a good time for the economy to start increasing taxes because, our economy right now in a very, challenging times. We're recovering after the pandemic. So I think it's smart for us not to increase taxes.
On pandemic issues, of course, the federal unemployment insurance add-on that so many people have been relying on for some time is set to expire in September. Because it's also a major issue here in Indiana, that its future is very much in question. It could end early. It could be extended. Where is that conversation now? Well,
I truly believe every time I roundtables with large employers, with small employers, and talking to people in the district with a shortage of employees. And we need to make sure that people get back to work, have jobs, and have meaningful careers so they can grow their careers and be able to make money, not staying home. So I think this unemployment incentives creating perverse incentives for people not to work. And I think it would be a terrible idea for us to extend these benefits further.
You have some strong feelings on the way Congress is addressing the issue of crime. You've joined some in saying that committees need to get back to their basic foundational directives and address it. You have a Marion County story to tell when you have those national conversations, it would seem, with the homicide rate, which has been high for years now, again, making a run at another record.
Well, I think it's unfortunate that public safety became a politicized issue too, as a lot of other issues, because one of the core government functions is protect people's life and make sure that we have good public safety for the people. And I think there are a lot of factors, that contribute into that. I believe we need to do a better job working and with our police force that, our policemen are respected. And if we have some, bad apples, we need to deal with them. But officers risk their lives every day to protect us, and we need to make sure that we have good police force and make sure that we help these people, to be better if they need to become better. There is another issue. When we open the border and have an enormous increase in drug trafficking, it creates more crimes. It creates much more violence. And we have to be very careful because cartels are taking more and more control of the border. And FBI, instead of dealing with drug trafficking and human trafficking and cartels, are now also doing with politics and, American citizens and doing a lot of political stuff. And it's unfortunate for me to see what FBI is doing right now, too.
You've been on a subcommittee that closely deals with immigration issues. You've had the opportunity to visit the southern border. You've mentioned bipartisanship a couple of times in this conversation. You've gone with Republicans and Democrats on those issues. Is there a conversation that could yield results without a straight party line fracture?
It's a very difficult conversation, unfortunately, right now. We're very far apart. There are a few smaller issues. I'm talking with my Democrat colleagues related to visas and legal immigration, how maybe we can improve. But generally, this issue also became very, and no one wants to have a serious discussion. And it's really sad for me to see because it is a national security issue. We right now put so much pressure on Border Patrol with really, influx from Central America that they don't have as much capacity to deal with criminal terrorists that potentially can cross that border. So we have to have it, and hopefully we can do it before something bad happens. And unfortunately, government doesn't want to be proactive. So I'll continue talking to my colleagues and putting pressure on administration. I sent a letter to DHS secretary just yesterday to really look that they're watering down a lot of processes in corners and actually put these migrant children, unaccompanied minors, safety at risk by doing that. And actually what brought up to me by their employees. And I wanted to clarify that. I think it's not a good way to cut corners instead of dealing with the issue.
To the January 6th Commission, you were steadfast against both of the versions, the bipartisan split idea, and then this one that is weighted clearly with more Democrats than Republicans. Those votes both prompted a lot of conversation. In fact, they split the Indiana congressional delegation. But now that the committee does exist, whether you wanted it to exist or not, should Republicans participate in it or give Democrats free and unfettered access to the information and the floor when they do hold hearings and whatnot? Do you think Republicans should be on that panel since it does exist?
Well, unfortunately, it seems like January 6th situation became a witch hunt for President Trump. It became politicized, and I actually sent a letter on January 8th and asking Speaker Pelosi to really look what's happened and why we were so ill prepared to a large gathering, any large demonstration can bring some violence, and regardless, what it is. And I was very surprised to see how unprepared we were. And I wanted her to really have a serious conversation to look at that. But everything became politicized. The first commission, what kind of bipartisan commission you can have if you don't have any Republican staff? It's all staff from one side. I mean, no committee or commission can function without support of the staff. So it's not a bipartisan if you don't have Republican staff on that committee. And the same happened again. So it's going to be, again, just go and make sure that we're going to be talking about January 6th instead of looking at issue, looking forward, what problems we need to resolve and have forward thinking, problem solving, common sense, approach to issues. But just politicizing and talking politics nonstop. And that's what a lot of these committees became. And I'm honestly tired from it. We have to look forward. If something needs to be improved, let's fix it, but not continue looking back and just talking politics nonstop.
Representative Victoria Spartz, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Our thanks again to Congresswoman Spartz. Let's talk about Indiana Democrats now. They're going on the offense, pushing for President Biden's American Jobs Plan. The first of the events was held on Thursday night here in Indianapolis, and some of the state's top party names will head across Indiana to tout the success of the rescue plan and try to boost pressure on Republicans to support the new infrastructure bill. Congressman Andre Carson says the plan could create up to 20 million jobs over the next decade.
A lot of my Republican buddies, who I love dearly, they're taking credit for this bill. At the same time, when they had the opportunity to pass it, they turned their backs on the bill. But guess who's going to be at the ribbon cuttings? We love them, but it's dishonest. Now, many of them were more concerned with serving Donald Trump than serving the American people. And many of them are still afraid that Donald Trump, after these maps come out, he's going to be campaigning in their districts, targeting many of them. So they're afraid to do what's right for their constituents.
Carson also touted expansion on broadband internet and the U.S. conversion to electric vehicles. Coming up, demanding answers from the state about the unemployment system, what our Richard Essex discovered when he went to the state government center. Welcome back to All Indiana Politics on this Sunday. Let's start again to unemployment here in Indiana. We're watching the legal fight play out over Governor Eric Holcomb's decision to end federal expanded benefits here in the state. We also continued to hear from self-employed Hoosiers now being told they have to repay thousands of dollars in benefits that they received. And it's all happening with a frustrating lack of answers from the Department of Workforce Development. Here's IT-Mate's Richard Essex.
It has been 2 weeks since a Marion County judge ordered the state to start making federal unemployment payments again, and that hasn't happened. We have been asking the Department of Workforce Development for a sit-down interview with the commissioner of that department for months, and repeatedly our requests are denied. So today, we decided to come downtown Indianapolis to the state office building to make the request in person. The Department of Workforce Development's main office appears to be right next to the public entrance of the Government Center South building.
Hi, I'm Richard Essex with Wish TV. We're trying to make an appointment to see the commissioner, Fred Payne. Is this the office?
Well, this is, you can go down to the other office and see if they can get a hold of him for you.
The security guard hired by the state wasn't sure where the Commissioner of Workforce Development, Fred Payne's office was located. She did escort us to another office that she called the intake office. Once we were inside that office, we made the same request. Can we speak with the commissioner? The lady behind the desk said that she was new to the job and wasn't sure who we needed to talk with. We waited for almost an hour when we were told someone was coming out to talk with us.
Okay. Who's that? Are you closing up for the day?
No, not at all.
Then the office door was closed and locked.
Well, there you go. They closed the door on us.
We waited patiently in the hallway, the same way more than 100,000 Hoosiers have been waiting after the state pulled out of the expanded federal unemployment benefits on June 19th, and as the governor appeals a judge's order to resume the payments. As it turns out, we were not the only ones in the building trying to get answers in person. Meet Kathy Dean of Indianapolis. Kathy told us that the Department of Workforce Development claims that she was overpaid. Dean has grown tired of waiting for callbacks and unanswered emails, so she came downtown looking for answers.
What about people that work for years and put time into this and have to work and wait on this money? You know, so y'all want to stop our PUA? Just go right ahead on and give us our money from unemployment back pay all at one time so we can go ahead on and live.
Dean was told by a security guard to make an appointment. We continue to wait for someone from the Department of Workforce Development to come out and talk with us, or at least make an appointment. There were several people in the office. None of them bothered to come to the door. So when will the Department of Workforce Development continue to make federal unemployment payments? Well, it's just one of many questions the department has avoided answering. In downtown Indianapolis, Richard Essex, Wish TV, wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook.
Take All Indiana Politics on the go with you. Download our podcast now. Part of the All Indiana Podcast Network and allindianapodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome back to All Indiana Politics as we welcome back Democrat Brian Gaddy and Republican Whitley Yates. Good to see you both. Let's start talking jobs on this Sunday morning. The U.S. economy added 850,000 of them in June, but the unemployment rate ticked up to 5.9%. Brian, we'll start with you here. Is this a sign that the economy is on the right track?
Absolutely. President Biden's plans are working. The American Rescue Plan is definitely working. Jobs are coming back. People are coming back to work. And there's no doubt about it, President Biden's plans are working. So we just need to stay on the right track, keep doing what he's doing.
Whitley, your response.
I don't necessarily feel like the jobs report has been good, specifically for the Black community. The unemployment rate has increased to 9.2% for Black Americans. It's increased for Hispanic and Latinos. It's increased for Asian Americans. And so while they're walking around the state of Indiana touting this rescue plan and how great it is, we're watching unemployment rise for underrepresented and minority communities. And so it may be great for some, but what's good for the goose isn't always good for the gander.
Brian, you want to get in there and respond to that?
Well, I don't, first of all, I don't know if those statistics are completely accurate. If you look at the job gains, obviously jobs are being increased all across the board. And I don't know if you can necessarily say that people of color are being left out of the job boom. I don't necessarily agree with that. I do believe, though, that our economy is definitely coming back. And you got to remember where we were a year ago. I mean, my goodness. COVID-19 was out of control. We had the worst economy since the Great Depression. President Trump was clueless on how to handle it. We've got a President Biden knows what he's doing. So just think about where we were last year and compare it to today. I think we're in a much better position.
Well, I think understandably so, because as you mentioned, COVID, right?
Absolutely.
Whitley, does President Biden deserve credit?
No, there are 9.5 million unemployed Americans, and that number rose in June. Absolutely not. Not at all.
All right, let's talk COVID now, because the Delta variant becoming pretty serious, causing some parts of the country to see spikes in cases of COVID-19. Now, the CDC, ladies and gentlemen here, say that that's because not enough people are vaccinated. Brian, in your opinion, should we be worried?
Absolutely, we should be worried. This Delta variant is really contagious. Look at how it decimated India. I mean, my goodness, it's right now the most contagious variant of COVID-19. And what's really so sad is that we have red state governors, mostly in the South, that are not really pushing to get the citizens of their states vaccinated. So really what we need is President Trump, because it's mostly Republicans that are refusing to get vaccinated. We need him to get out there and talk more about convincing other Republicans to get vaccinated. And we need to stop the conspiracy theories. QAnon obviously is promoting a lot of conspiracy theories. Right now, the GOP needs to stop acting like the GQP. And we really need for Republicans to be responsible and get vaccinated. If we don't get that done, the Delta variant has the potential of really taking off in the country. Numbers already spiking in Missouri. Missouri's not that far from Indiana, so we really need to get on it.
Whitley, to Brian's point, is this a conspiracy theory or just people just making their own choices?
Every major Republican, including former President Trump and former Vice President Pence, including our Republican governor, have all been vaccinated and have all been pushing people to get vaccinated. And if we really want to be honest here, we're not just seeing hesitation when it comes to Republican and red states. The Black community has the lowest vaccination records. That hesitation is historical from Tuskegee trials. So it's not just Republicans who are weary or leery of the vaccination. It's honestly people of color who've had this negative experience in the past with, vaccinations. And so it's kind of strange to hear him say that this is like a Republican thing when really it's across the board that there's hesitation. I mean, even Vice President Harris told us that she doesn't trust the vaccine that came from the Trump administration. And now she's passing it out to us like candy on Halloween. There hasn't been a consistent message. And so I don't think that the current administration has done a really good job. One minute they tell us not to trust what comes from the Trump administration. Now they're telling everyone that they need to go and get this vaccine. What is it? What's the truth?
The current administration, President Biden and Vice President Harris, they have done an outstanding job. You got to remember, former President Trump, first of all, didn't even believe COVID-19 was serious. Remember the video audio tape with Bob Woodward. I always tried to play it down, he said. He never really took it seriously. And when he finally understood how dangerous COVID-19 was, hundreds of thousands of Americans had died from it, and our economy was virtually destroyed, almost.
And let me
destroyed
jump in
by
here.
it.
Let me jump in here quickly, Brian, because his former Surgeon General, our medical expert here at Wish TV, has said he's gone on Capitol Hill and, for the record, said let's not politicize the vaccine. Your response to that, because it sounds like it's being politicized here today.
Well, I agree we shouldn't politicize it, but the problem is we've got Republicans out there that are not telling people to get vaccinated. They're not saying it in a consistent way. And Willie, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, President Biden and Vice President Harris have been promoting people to get vaccinated. Okay. And we have millions of Americans that are vaccinated because of the excellent leadership of President Biden and Vice President Harris.
All right, we'll leave it there. Brian Whitley, good to see you. Have a good rest of your weekend. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics. We'll be back here next Sunday morning at 9:30. You can also find our brand new All Indiana Politics podcast. It's part of the All Indiana Podcast Network at wishtv.com. Have a great rest of your weekend.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Watch All Indiana Politics live Sunday mornings at 9:30 on Wish TV and at wishtv.com. Subscribe to this podcast and listen weekly here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.